Hello, and welcome to another MIRACL LinkedIn Live. I'm Margaret Shear, Head of Marketing here at MIRACL, and today I am live with our CCO, Michael Tanaka. Michael, hello.
Hi there, Margaret. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for joining us today. Well, MIRACL delivers the login you love with an unrivaled login success rate of 99.93%, as compared to passwords alone at 90% at best. So what we're saying is that MIRACL delivers the login you love with an unrivaled login success rate of 99.93%, as compared to passwords alone at 90% at best. The login allows for flexibility to integrate into multiple points of your user flow. And today we want to walk through a few examples of passwordless user flows and customer journeys that our clients are adopting as best practice. Of course, what we're hoping you walk away with are clear examples of a few different user flows that if you wanted, you could simply lift and shift this into your environment, but also to whet your imagination for other flows on how MIRACL could be integrated unique to your own product. So with that, Michael, I believe you're going to walk us through two different demos that will first show an example of where a user ID might be an email, and then we're going to finish with an example where user ID might be a phone number, but equally there's different kinds of enrollment. Okay, so different kinds of enrollment, proof of digital signage, and then what happens, if somebody forgets their PIN. So Michael, over to you.
Thank you, Margaret. So yeah, what I'd like to do obviously is show you those two demos, one of which we call the Club Casino 4+1, because what it has are 4 really core user flows plus an additional one. The 4 user flows are registration, login, PIN reset, and also adding or trusting another browser. And then the additional +1 is the ability to authenticate any sort of action, or generally speaking, a transaction, withdrawal, deposit, could be a number of different things. But the thing to really keep in mind here is that we have a sort of a headline number of 99.93% on our consumer use cases for login success rates, which is absolutely amazing. But there are a lot of other points of failure for the users as well. And of course, one of them is the registration itself. And some of our accounts are now seeing as high as a 20% uplift in registration success rates because they're going passwordless. Complex passwords are actually hard to remember, but they're also hard to create sometimes for users, and they give up and they move on somewhere else.
Sure.
So really doing these sort of things is helping on lots of different levels. And it's not just, don't think just in terms of that login, it's also the success rate. But the other thing it's important to point out as well is that the alternatives are horrific. That if you actually think about what people would normally use if they want to go for either passwordless or if they want to go for multi-factor, is generally speaking an authenticator app. So it'll be something like a biometric enabled authenticator app, or maybe a push or something like that. But what that really, or it could even be Google Authenticator and Microsoft Authenticator, which generate what's called TOTPs. But the problem with those is that they have in practice around a 10% failure rate. But even more importantly, they have anywhere up to a 40% failure rate during the enrollment of those devices, because you have to download an application, you've got to install it, you've got to then configure it, and that's where you're going to lose a lot of those users. So in practice for our operators, we see that where multi-factor is offered and you have lots of different choices, the total number that go to things like authenticator apps is usually less than 2 to 4%. In other words, it's a tiny fraction, and that's really because the users are showing you that they don't like them. Okay. So with that, why don't I show my screen? All right, so I'm going to actually go log out. And the idea, of course, is that login process is, as I mentioned, really swift and easy. You're just simply typing in that PIN. So it's done as simple as that. Now,
Michael, can I just stop you there for a second? So in that very swift motion that we just saw, normally in what we're normally used to is this kind of password field that maybe you've had to go pull it from a password manager, you've had to remember whatever this complex, 8 digits or 6 digits or characters and that kind of thing. But you've just logged in with multi-factor authentication in 2 seconds.
That is correct. Yeah, total of 2 seconds flat. And the question, of course, is why was it multi-factor authentication? Because a lot of people will see that and just think that's just too easy to be, secure authentication. And the reason why is because only the user can enter that PIN on their trusted device. What we've essentially done is we've enrolled that browser, and it's completely unknown to the user, but we've enrolled the browser and made it so only it can accept that PIN from that user. So what that means is you pass that criteria of having the possession factor being the browser, and also the knowledge factor being the PIN. And so that, of course, means that only that user can operate it.